Hello and welcome to another Overlord lore video, and today we are going to take a look at the fight of Ainz Ooal against the Elf King. But before we're going to do so, let me thank my Patreons for supporting this channel, as well as all users of the YouTube thanks function for making one-time donations. Now with that said, let's get into the setup of the fight. Ainz Ooal as well as Aura and Mare went inside the Elf capital in the Great Forest of Evasha in order to kill steal. Ainz wanted to prevent the theocracy from gaining all the elvish artifacts and magic items that the country could hold. Now back then, Ainz thought of the elvish treasures as something more on the line of Razor Edge, a legendary blade that indeed could cut him, and possibly even world-class items. And since the theocracy could potentially attack the Sorcerer Kingdom, he wanted to ensure that they wouldn't get any additional options once war was declared. And he most certainly did not thought that he would find not only a part of the treasures of other players, namely the items of one of the 8 Great Kings, the elvish leader that gave his items to his son, the Elf King, or Ainz as he was named. But he also did not think that he would meet someone like Ainz in the capital city. Now, while Ainz Ooal, Aura and Mare infiltrated the Elf capital, and even the palace successfully, only Ainz Ooal has disguised himself with perfect unknowable, while Aura and Mare were out in the open. But as soon as the bedchamber of the Elf King was reached, the Elf twins were caught by the Elf King, who was initially very surprised, because A, the elf boy was wearing a dress, that of an elf girl, and B, because he could not recall that he had bedded a dark elf woman. But nonetheless, he suspected them being simply his grandchildren. Meanwhile, Ainz, while still maintaining perfect unknowable, was buffing himself more and more, until his dead reflexes kicked in. See, the Elf King was stunned that finally his power has manifested in what he thought were his grandchildren. So he was of the opinion that his power might have skipped a generation. But now that he had found a way to make strong offspring, he desired to make even more strong offspring with the strong offspring. And as soon as these words came out over his lips, a punch shoved them right back in, and flung the Elf King at the back of his bedchamber. Ainz had left his perfect unknowable and stopped buffing himself to punch the guy that wanted to take liberties with Aura and Mare. The Elf King, still believing that the twins were his children, wanted to assert his dominance by fighting that summoned skeleton of them. So he used a summoning of his very own, Behemoth, the powerful earth elementar, that quickly managed to corner the Sorcerer King. And while Ainz had felt the impact of Ainz Ooal's punch, he casted Mercy of Shoria Robusta in order to provide a minor self-healing effect. But his spell would also allow him to resist insta-death magic and be revived without level loss, provided that he died by an enemy attack. So Ainz wanted to take no chances, and therefore he held himself back, while Behemoth pummeled Ainz Ooal's skeletal walls, bit by bit, and Ainz found this all very tiresome, which to Ainz Ooal's credit was part of the plan. See, Ainz Ooal wanted to capture the Elf King, and at this point a fate worse than death, and he partially succeeded. But I'm again getting ahead of myself, for Ainz had easily more than enough mana to win a battle of attrition against the Elf King. But he didn't want to show his strength right away. He wanted to lure the Elf King in a sense of false safety. He wanted him to run out of mana so that he couldn't teleport away easily, or fight him and his magical effects off. And by making the Elf King think that he was winning, he also wanted to prevent him from even thinking about fleeing. And thirdly, and most importantly, he wanted him to be weak so that he could be captured without risking too much in a serious fight. So while the Elf King was playing Crusader Kings, with all of this weird incestuous power politics, Ainz was playing Pokémon. And once he bathed himself and the Elf King in a torrent of rain, once the Elf King lost his cool and most of his mana reserves, Ainz Ooal decided to get serious and used Reality Slash in order to severely wound the Elf King, who at this point was shocked and had a mental breakdown, and was for the first time in probably centuries scared for his very life, and tried to flee, only for the Elf King to trigger the mines Ainz had planted earlier, which had deeply hurt him and burned his feet. But to his credit, the Elf King still was able to run afterwards, despite being peppered with spells such as Time Stop and being severely hurt by Ainz Ooal's spells. So he, or rather the items he had inherited, still were powerful enough to resist Ainz Ooal's magic in his badly weakened state, so that the Elf King could run away. But of course, this didn't mean that Ainz was letting him go. The weakened Elf King wasn't going to be much of a threat, now that he was out of mana. So he and Aura could spend a brief amount of time plundering the treasury vault of the royal palace, and therefore he had sent Mare after the already bleeding Elf King. But sadly, Mare would have been denied his prize, for the Elf King ran into no other than Zashi Zetsumai herself, and Antilena at this point was fueled by spite and vengeance, and protected by her armor, and equipped with the weapon of the 6 great gods themselves. For the first time since the despicable 8 great kings had killed Surshana, a member of the theocracy would be able to exact revenge by killing off the only known remaining offspring of them, thus ending their bloodline, while that of the 6 great gods still endures in this world. Because while the Elf King had sired many offsprings, the only one close to his power, and quite literally surpassed it, was Zashi herself, who, just and Aura and Mare, was briefly mistaken for one of the Elf King's concubines, only for her to humiliatingly crush the Elf King. The only thing that set Zashi off was these deep cuts in the Elf King's body, but that still did not save him from being literally grinded to death under Zashi's iron boot. Just like Ainz Ooal had crushed Clementine, thus taking revenge on behalf of the Swords of Darkness, Zashi made the Elf King vomit forth his own lung, thus taking revenge for her country and avenging her traumatic childhood. But just as the Elf King stopped breathing, Zashi was confronted with yet another elven adversary. Mare has caught up to the Elf King, or rather what was left of him, only to then be attacked by Zashi. And how this battle went will be the topic for another video. For today, this is it, and I say thank you very much for watching, and special thanks to Arder Daddy Arder, Bad Girl Yi, Bad Boyto 316, Beezer, Ben C, Brandon D, Chrissy, Crowley 0221, Sia, Crystal Prime, Dead Slime, Death is Mercy, Deathless Dragonlord, Demon Xenomorph 1987, Devin Downen, Ding Dong, Duckwagon, Dunkler Krieger, Dystopia, Dystopia II, Enigmatic Unicorn, Feral Shivan, Guy with That Head, Hector Marino, Hoss, Huster, Jacob G, Jana B, Jason, J. Morris, Chromius, Kyle R, Lee K. Long, Legendarius, Lelouch Britannia with a Mustache, Lexus Fox, Lord Nishikian Rai, Lord Touch Me, Love Razor, Merovec, Mr. Shoes, Mr. Tweaker, Michael R, Michael Y, Nope, Oh Hell No, Normal Toad, Oh Kill, Overlord General Gasper, Paddy Pantom, Personage, Primus 11, Rhinomere, Cune Carcos P, Shergox's Daddy, Shadow Lightning Wolf, Shrine Keeper, Super Team Magic Batista Bomb, Supreme Cheese, Starris, Ted, Texas Deer, The Orc Warboss, Rak Edsmeshar, T.E. Wang, Vash Hawkeye, Vegito27, Venture Fanatic, Wilhelm, Xenokai, and Zonagon. Thanks guys. Anyway, have a nice day, and I hope to see you all again soon under my next video.